Yeah, fans matter. Fans do matter. Can you imagine performing at Glastonbury in front of 100,000 screaming fans? Could you imagine that feeling? Now picture that with no fans. How's everyone doing out there? For my next song, I'll be singing it. Hi there guys, and welcome to another episode of a Dash of Sports episode 5. I'll be your host and presenter Dashiki Dash, and as per usual on this show is where I talk all things sports related, hot topics and trending stories. And if you like the previous episodes, give us a like, comment, subscribe and share it. On today's show, the theme will be based on the life and soul of any live event. Yep, I'm talking about the fans, the spectators. So, kicking off with some football, the Bundesliga returns. How was the first round of games looking like with no fans in attendance, played behind closed doors? And also, all the procedures and protocols for the players, the staff, the officials, did it really help to keep them safe? I watched it, and I'm still not convinced. And although the Bundesliga has made its return since the coronavirus lockdown, there has been 2 sporting events that have been performing behind closed doors, and that's the MMA's UFC and in the sports entertainment world, the WWE. And how have they been performing in front of no crowds, no fans? All to be discussed on a Dash of Sports. And moving on next onto some football, the Bundesliga return. Yes, finally we get some football. On the last show you saw me, I was excited about the prospect of football returning, but I've got some mixed emotions. I watched the games and yeah, this, it's gonna take time to get used to the new reality of football. Now, kicking off the first round of games of German football was Dortmund versus Schalke. Now, before I get into the game itself, so I did witness what seems to be a display of what football will be looking like in the future. And as we've been told that the players and staff have been subjected to regular COVID-19 testing, although there were a few cases that were reported of players catching the coronavirus, with 3 cases found at FC Cologne. While in the second division, Dynamo Dresden was ordered into a 14-day quarantine, and their game against Hanover on Sunday was called off, and they won't be able to train during the quarantine period. So Dortmund kicked off the first round of games of the Bundesliga with a 4-0 victory against Schalke, with Haaland scoring his first goal in 2 months and ended up celebrating by himself with a little jig. Social distancing as well, so the players couldn't really come and engage. So goal celebrations around the Bundesliga on Saturday was just limited to like smiles, thumbs up, fist bumps, elbows, as they were informed that you wouldn't be able to, embrace or high five or get close if you scored a goal. So players were already pre-warned about their conduct, making sure that, they kept their emotions in check. No spitting, no handshakes, no hugging. The whole footballing world is watching the Bundesliga, so they had to be on point. Now here comes all the parts that I felt was just so contradicting, shall I say. The substitutes were on the bench about, they were split up 2 meters apart, if that, or more, and they were wearing masks, but then when they were warming up, they weren't wearing their masks. Before the match, the subs were sitting down with their masks on, and the players were on the pitch about 2 feet away from each other, not wearing masks. During the game, when it was corners, Players were congregated together. There was a bit of wrestling going on. At one point in time, there was a player, I do forget his name. He looks a bit like Nathan Ake. He was right up close to Haaland. And these guys just breathing in his face. And I was just thinking to myself, where is the social distancing there? The only player on the pitch that was practicing real social distancing was probably the goalkeeper. Now, the best way to describe the experience is, it felt weird. I can't lie. You know, we're so used to watching games with the fans there and the crowd and the atmosphere. They even played the Liverpool anthem, "You'll Never Walk Alone," and there was no fans singing. You can't have a song like that and there's no fans singing. Walk on, walk on. But the whole footballing day has been one of mixed emotions. Because on one hand, I'm saying it felt weird to kind of watch. At the same time as well, before the game, I was excited. I'm feeling like, you know, football's back. I'm waiting for the game. Kickoff was about 2:30. I'm already in front of the TV by about 1 o'clock. Just waiting. But when you then finally watch it, you're like, this doesn't feel like football. Now, the game itself just felt like what I can best describe like a under 23s match. If you've ever watched an under 23s match, you'll know the atmosphere, you know, with you got barely any fans and you can hear everything. So we can hear the players, we can hear the coaches. So it was weird. It was, yeah, just a weird footballing day. At the same time, what I can best say is, maybe if it's your team. Now, the Bundesliga is not the league that I watch. I'm a Premier League football man, and if I was watching my team play, then maybe during the game it's a different experience. So if you support Dortmund or Schalke, let me know, how did you feel about the game? Because you lot are going to be the best people to ask in regards to the full experience. But please let me know what you felt about the games. I also watched Hoffenheim versus Hertha Berlin, and it was the same. I don't know if I was expecting anything different, but it was the same, you know, the same type of atmosphere, no fans. That game was also played behind closed doors, as all the games in the Bundesliga will be played behind closed doors. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's just weird, man. It's just weird. I know I really am lost for words and how to describe it. I'm really trying my best. But it was just a situation where you're watching a game and you just can't help to be drawn to the atmosphere, or the lack of atmosphere, should I say. And it's just plainly obvious that you need fans. And this seems like it's going to be the future of football. So once again, did you enjoy the first round of games of the Bundesliga? Let me know. Put your comments below. Now, it's not just the Bundesliga or just football in general that has been performing behind closed doors. Last week in the MMA world, UFC 249 took place, and there was blood, there was upsets, retirements, and there was nobody there to see it. But it turned out to be a really good event with the Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje fight. Also, the Francis Ngannou versus Rosenstrike. Oh my days. That was a fight. You can't mess with that guy. That was a fight. That Francis Ngannou has definitely got some tombstones in his hands. He laid that guy out quickly. If there not being any fans, it's always going to be, or you're always going to get fans that are not going to be satisfied. But surprisingly enough, this actually went down well. The event was a really good event. They also went through their own procedures and protocols in terms of how to keep the fighters, the officials, the staff safe. You know, I saw a load of people wearing masks. There was only 3 coaches allowed per fighter, with only 1 coach allowed in the octagon. They also practiced some sort of social distancing, also applied the quarantine period of time before the fight, so I think it was about a week's quarantine time away in a hotel. So that's another sport that's showing you how it's done. I think combat sport is a little bit different because you get engaged very quickly in regards to the action, where in football there are long periods of time of build-up play, so you can get very much drawn into the atmosphere or the lack of atmosphere, as I keep mentioning. But the MMA fights were really good. It was just like watching a scuff, like on road. So UFC 249, how did you feel about it? Like really and truly, how did you feel about that whole event? Like no fans, because I had reservations going into it. I weren't too sure, but at the end of it, I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the fights that I mentioned. So let me know how you felt about the whole event. Was there any fights that you enjoyed, or is it just with no fans, you weren't interested? Let me know, man. Write your comments down below. And speaking of combat sport, you know, I can throw in some wrestling, okay? WWE, I know, it's not fully sports entertainment, but for a long while, they've been performing with no fans. If you watch wrestling, you know that a major part of wrestling is the fan aspect. You know, the fans need to be there for the purpose of entertainment. And recently, they've actually had one of their most famous events, which is WrestleMania. Now, if you know, WrestleMania is like, the best way to describe it is like the Super Bowl or like the World Cup of events for wrestling. Now, could you imagine both the Super Bowl or the World Cup or the Champions League final with no fans? That's exactly what wrestling did. Without the fans in the arena, you actually really get to see how fake wrestling is. Now listen, I grew up on wrestling. I know it's fake. Yes, I didn't need no fans in the arena to tell me that. But like the whole theatrics of it all really does get exposed. The wrestlers coming down to the ring, down the aisle, and looking at the crowd, pointing, but there's no crowd though. After they freak out, 1, 2, 3, and they're holding their heads and they're putting their hands in the air and the referee's holding their hands. They're all doing that. Who are they doing it for? So the theatrics behind it all really does get exposed when there's no fans. Also, for any wrestling fans out there, like hit me up, man. Let me know. Put your comments down below. How have you been enjoying wrestling, watching wrestling with no fans? Did you enjoy WrestleMania? Are you enjoying the shows like Raw, SmackDown? How was the new experience? Because, you know, there's been a couple of times where I've just cringed or I've just been like, oh. Money in the Bank was good though. That was decent. I like the way they took everything to their headquarters and they did the match on the roof and stuff like that. You know, all the wrestling heads, you know, anyway. But let me know how you feel about that. With that being said, I'm going to end it there for this week. But there is food for thought in regards to thinking about what our sporting experience is going to be from now on, due to the lack of atmosphere, with no fans, with sports being played behind closed doors, football, MMA, boxing, and many other sports. So let's see what happens. Thank you for watching another episode of A Dash of Sports. I truly appreciate your love and support. And if you need further information about future episodes or just your day-to-day sporting updates, please head over to my Instagram page, which is A Dash of Sports. A Dash of Sports. I'll put it down below here and I'll also put it in my description. And please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. I truly appreciate it. And until the next time on A Dash of Sports, I'll see you later.